Part 1. The Meeting of Fates. 1. Ashkadances, Kariana, 118 years ago. Fathers shouldn't force their 19-year-olds to pick their life partners in the name of a war alliance to defeat dragons. However, that was Kariana's plan for the following day. If she could help end the unyielding war, she should, right? Kariana had looked forward to the day she would start courting, finding the person who would be her pair, and having all the time in the world to do so. As the second-in-command in Ashkadances' army, the next in line to replace her father as general, she was a catch. Smart, strategic, attractive, and powerful. She could have anyone. But she had also thought she had time on her hands. There had been no rush. She took a few deep breaths, feeling the damp air in her lungs. Now she wished she had rushed it. Then she wouldn't be in this predicament. A pawn. In all the years she had trained under her father, she'd never thought he'd reduce her to this. The alliance with Feintu that tied them against Grydasia meant she had exactly 3 options. She could choose between the 2 sons and 1 daughter of their general. At least in that she had options. 3 potential pairs were better than 1. Gazing out over the vast expanse of sea beyond Mount Pieton, Kariana drew her sword and tapped it idly against her thigh. Thump, thump, thump. Knowing she wouldn't be home for several weeks, she spent her last day at the top of the highest peak, even if it meant more traveling to get back to the docks in time tomorrow. Some views were worth it. "Mutrine, I don't want this," Kariana said aloud, allowing herself to admit it to their god. If she did so at least once, she reasoned she would feel better. It didn't work. Not that she thought he'd listen anyway. Turning away from the view of the sparkling sea, she teared up. A gust of wind whipped her chestnut hair around her face, and she pushed it back. Looking around, she searched for approaching storm clouds. The clouds were gray, but not the deep dark of the storms that had plagued their skies last week. Kariana naively hoped the rains would return and she could hang up her sword and shield for a few more days and ignore this impending partnership. The wind came not from the clouds, however. A dragon flapped toward her some distance away. Kariana was nowhere near the cannons, the shackles, or the other man-made ships and weapons of her father's design that stood a chance against dragons. She was alone on the top of Mount Pieton with a sword, only suitable for close combat. "If I have to die here today, I'll at least take this dragon with me." Kariana braced her feet, determination settling in, and held the sword up with both hands, praying the dragon would land before blowing its deadly fire. If it tried to kill her with its fiery breath while flying, she'd have no chance. If he landed first, she could strike with her sword as he tried to devour her. Her hands shook, but she steadied herself. There was no time to be afraid. She would not run. Running from a dragon when no cover was near held no expectation of survival. She was not her father's second-in-command for the sake of keeping it in the family, she reminded herself. She'd been trained to fight since she could walk. She alone held the charge of saving herself or dying as she tried. Her escorts that morning waited at the base of Mount Pieton, at least a 20-minute climb below her. They saw the dragon, she was sure, but even running as fast as they could, they would not make it in time. They'd only come for the aftermath. The glimmering dragon was mere feet away as Kariana looked the murderous beast in the eyes. Its irises of gold, lined with green, zeroed in on her, squinting as its wings held tightly to its body to pick up speed. Kariana felt a warmth blossom in her chest as the dragon landed before her. The earth shook with the force of its landing, leaving disrupted earth behind it. Its wings expanded again, extending its height and displaying its true size. The dragon's black and blue scales sparkled in the gray sky with bright eyes she couldn't look away from. Kariana's hand lowered, the sword feeling heavier than moments before. The malice left her body and her fear was replaced with hope. It landed. She could fight it, but did she want to? Her intuition stopped her, the inner voice in her cautioning against violence. Why do I feel like I know you? Kariana thought, trying unsuccessfully to pull her sword back up and face her enemy. The dragon hadn't tried to kill her yet, its fire not yet unleashed. Why? She had a chance to fight but couldn't bring herself to move either. The dragon's hot breath stalled, its wings ceasing to flap. Its expression calmed, eyes squinting in confusion as its colossal head bobbed. Something in Kariana's heart cracked and seemed to slow, the rhythm stilted in the face of her likely death. But no, that was not quite right. Kariana knew instinctually this dragon would not hurt her. Its eyes flickered, and its irises grew large, head tilting to stare at her in confusion. It, too, felt something was different. "Can you understand me?" Kariana asked the beast before her, her hand extended without her brain's approval, reaching for her enemy. A pained howl escaped the dragon's throat as if she had indeed stabbed him, its expression turning pained. Its body curled into itself, wings spasming and shrinking. She looked down at her sword just in case, as if she could have acted without thought, but it was as pristine as ever at her side, no blood. When she looked up again, Kariana felt a distinct change within herself. All traces of the fear and determination to fight from moments earlier left her body, and she rushed to the wounded dragon. Forgetting what it was, and ignoring what her father would have done at the sight of a vulnerable enemy, she fell to the ground before the beast. She petted the top of the dragon's head, feeling its ridges and scales, and whispered to it, "I'll be here. I don't know what's happening, but I'll be here." She stroked the dragon's cheek. Her eyes welled, feeling the pain in her heart as if it were her own. The dragon's pupils expanded nearly to the edges, yet its head seemed to grow smaller by the second. It was once the size of her body, yet before her eyes it shrank. Kariana pulled herself closer to the shrinking skull and stroked the dragon's forehead. The beast continued to cry in agony, its body shriveling. She noted the scales growing smoother and duller in color. "It's going to be okay," she whispered to the dragon. She didn't know if it was true, but she hoped it would be. The dragon's groans sounded like a human, and Kariana gasped as its scales smoothed and transformed into sand-colored flesh. It held more yellow tones than the light rose of her skin. "I don't know what's happening," Kariana repeated as a solitary tear dropped from her eye to the skin of a newly formed man with long black hair. It was not pure black, but mixed with a deep purple undertone. Her eyes traveled over his body, marveling at what she witnessed. He was a man, fully and wholly a man, when moments before he was her ruin. Her deep brown eyes looked into his, and the world changed. Rather, it locked into place in the way it always should have. A gold haze erupted from their bodies, and a sense of belonging gripped them both. Sparks came to life where their skin touched. This must be what peace feels like, Kariana thought. The hue expanded from their bodies and outward into the sky, forming a sphere. The sparks matched his eyes, and Kariana found she could swim in them, staring back at him for an eternity. "Hi, I'm Kariana," she said to the dragon-turned human lying naked in her arms. "Whatever this is, I welcome it." The former dragon pulled himself up, his expression morphing from pain to confusion, and then to resignation, with his lips pulled into a line. He stayed beside her, pushing up on the freshly disturbed earth from where he'd landed, when he had wings. "I am Dracul," His lips moved hesitantly over the words, as if he didn't know he could use them. His eyes searched between them and the gold sphere. "You were a dragon," Kariana said from within their haze of gold. His eyes snapped back to her. "I still am," his deep, rumbling voice replied.